used to be two old women, right?
Shalom, shalom, people. This is Brother Lyles coming at you with another video. And we're going to be talking to you today coming out of the book of Galatians, the 4th chapter, starting at verse 1. Galatians 4 and 1. And it says, "Now I say that the heir, as long as he is a child, differ nothing from a servant, though he be Lord of all, but is under tutors and governors until the time appointed of the fathers. Even so, we, when we were children, were in bondage under the elements of the world. But when the fullness of the time was come, Yah sent forth his son, made of a woman, made under the law." And we want to talk today coming from the thought in the fullness of time. What am we talking about today? In our Western society, in the Babylonian society that we're living in, we know that it is stated that America was the fastest growing empire in history, that within 200 years of its creation, America was able to dominate the world, right on the heels of the British Empire having its sunset. America, who is a product of the British Empire, rose up. And so within the DNA of all Americans is a uh, a desire to get to the destination that you're going to get quick, meaning that if you are have a desire to be a doctor, within your uh, psyche as an American, your desire is to become the top doctor in your field in a short amount of time. There is no waiting around. Of course, you got to go through the years of medical school and all these different things, but time you hit the ground, you hit it running. The same if you're a lawyer, the same if you are a soldier or any profession that you go in is in our DNA as Americans who want to rise to the top real quick. But this is not the course of nature. This is not the course of really of how things actually should work. But that's why we look at the extraordinary means that America went to get to the top that it is at. It went through killing off most of the Native American tribes that were here. It went to the extreme of not only um, bringing in uh, African slaves from uh, and another people from other countries to come in here and to work the land. But after slavery was outlawed by America, they decided that they wanted to breed us in Maryland and Virginia and other states in order to get the manpower that it needed to build the engine of prosperity that the nation needed to, in order to get the extraordinary growth that it did, so that we basically would be as if a child was born, and within a few months, or rather a few weeks, the child was, and not just crawling, but up and running all around the house. And someone would look at that and say that this is some kind of anomaly. But this is what we have as the purveyors of this American dream, and for some, the American nightmare. But as we even look at what Yah has set forth in his kingdom, it seems to me, and even looking at my own life, that he usually has a situation that he will put one in, and will have a one that he wants to get a great workout of this individual or group of people. He will usually uh, uh, cause them to have to wait into a particular time. And so this is what we want to talk about today, in the fullness of time, that our our plans, when we want something to come forth, is not always the plan that the Most High has in store for us. That sometimes the Most High will allow us to set a while. Why do I say this? Well, just looking at our scripture that we just got through reading, talking about Paul talking in the, excuse me, in the book of Galatians, talking about in the fullness of time, Yah sent his son. Now, when the Most High first gave Eve or Hawa the prophecy in the book of Genesis, the third chapter, that uh, the seed of the serpent would bruise the seed, the heel of the seed of the woman. From that time forth, Adam and Eve was thinking that, oh, we're going to give birth to that seed that's going to crush the head of the serpent, right? That's why when they had Cain, right? What did Eve say? He said, "I have gotten a son from the master." She was thinking that Cain was going to be the deliverer that would crush the head of the serpent, Satan. But as we see, she was sadly mistaken. And not only did Cain not crush the head of the serpent, he made an alliance with the devil himself. And so, time after time after time throughout history, for the first couple of thousands of years, mankind was sadly disappointed with one deliverer after another, not being the one that they thought would be the one that would take the reins that Adam had given up. And so we see that when the Most High brought in the nation of Israel, through whom he had promised they would bring forth a deliverer, even they, as they were waiting for this deliverer to come, one that would come as Moses had came, around the time that Israel had came back out of captivity, out of Babylon, and then they went through the Greek occupation. They were going through the Roman occupation. They pretty much was tapped out. They pretty much, their hope was dried up at that time. And it's into this time that the Most High said, now is the fullness of time, when they least expected. They would have expected it when they was a strong nation, when they was, mighty during the time of David. But the Most High did not have Yeshua come at that time. He came at a time when they were dejected. He came in a time in Israel when if you look at a lot of the miracles that Yeshua was doing, he was healing a lot of sick people. He was healing a lot of people that was demon possessed. He was healing a lot of people that was without hope. This is when Yeshua came at that time. And I submit to you that at the time that you think that the Most High is going to bring you forth into that which you feel that He has called you to will not be at the time that you feel it's going to be. It's going to be at a time that would take you totally off of what you had in mind, because it's in His time. If we are in Him, that we are governed by what He says. And so Yeshua, when he came forth into a situation where the people was really in need. The people was in need of a rebirth. They was in need of being energized in order to be wanting to worship the Most High Yah, because by that time, this thing that was created when they came out of Babylon called Judaism was holding the people down. It was dragging the people down. That's why when he came, they say he speaks with such authority. Now, if you look at what we as people with a Western mindset would have probably told the Most High, if we quote unquote could have gave him some advice about when Yeshua came, we would have said, "Oh, look, Most High, why are you going to let Yeshua go through almost 30 years of just living on this earth and do nothing noteworthy?" I know that there are books out there to talk about the Yeshua when he was growing up as a child. I myself, to be honest with you, I don't give any validity to these books because of the nature of what they said that Yeshua was doing as a child. I don't believe that Yeshua was going around uh, 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 healing as a child. I don't believe Yeshua was going around. I think they said in one of the books he was killing people or something like that. I believe, just as the Bible said, in the fullness of time, he came into Bethlehem. The Most High had him wait until 30, because at age 30 was when one who was of the Levitical priesthood would start ministering in the temple. He came, and in those 3 years, he did more in those 3 years than because the Bible said in him was the fullness of the Godhead bodily, and that he came in the volume of the book, meaning that everything that had been written before talking about him was concerning him, was pointing to him. He came and fulfilled all of that in the short amount of time of 3 years, not to mention all the people that he healed, all the demons that he cast out, all the people that he fed, all the great words that he said, which he didn't write down, but everybody else wrote down because they were so great. And that he did all this in 3 years. Can you imagine that? That in the fullness of time, when Father finally released him to go, after he was baptized in the river Jordan by John the Baptist, and he went to be tempted of the devil in the desert for 40 days, he came forth and said, "The kingdom of heaven is here. It is here." And he immediately started doing all those things that the Bible said had been written by him. So this is to give us who uh, came out of different situations. Say you was in the Christian church, and you might have been a pastor, you might have been a teacher or somebody like that, and you was thinking at the time when you was in this thing called Christianity, when you was in this thing called the Christian church, and you just seen all the madness and all these different things that was going on, and you came out and you said, "Oh Father, what have I done with my time? Will I be able to get this time back? Was that which I was doing, was it even ministry?" Well, I'm here to tell you that you're living in the best of times if you are listening to my voice, and that the Most High has awakened you to who we are, but not just awakened you to who we are, awakened you to the fact that we as a people, that we must repent and we must turn away from the wickedness of our forefathers, right? And turn back to the living Elohim. If he has awakened you, I'm here to let you know that this is your fullness of time that he is bringing you forth. I can remember when I was in the Christian church, and I think I've said this before. One of the things that I really was, uh, looking in my life to be, was to be a notable evangelist. My thing was going out and winning souls. My thing was going out and giving exhortation to people that there was a need to be born again. But as I seen all this stuff that was going on in this thing called the Christian church and denominationalism, and not only that, the different trials and things that I went through, some of my own doing, and then some of them from being associated with this. I became depressed. I became disillusioned with the whole thing, and I really felt that what is the use? But as the Most High start rebuilding me and getting me on a foundation of Yeshua again, and getting away from all that uh, denominationalism, and getting away from all of that fleshliness that these Christian and other religions have you to exalt yourself. And then as I start studying, and then when the Most High gave me the understanding of not just who we are, but also that what needs to, what we need to do to help galvanize and bring about our people to come to back together collectively into that remnant of people. I really got excited, and I'm really excited about that. That the what I'm doing right now, and the Most High allowed me to go through all the craziness that I went through to bring me to this time, this fullness of time for me. That even if something happened to me today, I got over 300 something videos here on YouTube, that after I'm dead and gone, people can look at these videos as long, as up until the time that the Most High decided to send His Son Yeshua back, and they can look at these videos and they can be encouraged and then exalted to do what it is that the Most High has called them to do when it concerning to be born again, to turn their life around, and also to be a testimony to my family and friends, that if they wanted to know what I was about, they could just cut on YouTube and look at my videos and see what was going through my mind at that time. The reason I know that we as believers, we as people of the 12 tribes of Israel, that we got to get into that mindset of the fullness of time, is that when 1619 came, and there was a lot of people was, not all, because I remember myself and others saying, excuse me, that I knew that the Most High was not going to be sending us back into the land in 2019, but that this was going to be the beginning of when he was going to start judging this system of America that had got us to the state that we were in order for us to get a righteous mindset again, but that he had to shake loose the power that these people had over us. He began to do that. But at the same time, we must also get our house in order, because he said what? Judgment would begin at the house of Yasharel, which it began at us over many years ago. It's not just the beginning, but this is going to be the final whittling. You know, when the women get the wheat and they throw it up in the air and it blows the chaff away. You know, he's been willing us since he kicked us out the land, and now he's getting down to the nitty of the gritty, right? But it's been a long time coming. So for the time that we got left, we must be patient. Look at the book of uh Romans 11. This is what Paul said. This is what the apostle Paul said, right? Talking about fullness. We're going to Romans 11 and verse 12. It says, now if the fall of them be the riches of the world, and the diminishing of them the riches of the Gentiles, how much more their fullness? Paul was talking here about Yah had not cast his people Israel aside, but that we had to fall because we was not wanting Yeshua to be our king and our redeemer at that time. And so he said we had to fall. He said, but if in their fall they blessed the nations, how much more when the Most High brings them back into their fullness, right? I'm here to let you know that we are getting ready to go into that the fullness of time for us as a people. Am I saying it's going to be tomorrow? Am I saying it's going to be a year from now, 5 years? No, I'm not giving no date, because he said no man should set a date. But I know that that in my spirit that the Most High has began the process of getting us back into the fullness of who we are. We can already see it. We can already see that some of the things that we are seeing here in America about our brothers and sisters in Africa, encouraging them to shake off the colonizers, encouraging them to get their house in order, encouraging them to not be a doormat to the world anymore. We can already see how some of that is being transpired in the news, when we cut on the news and see. Now some of it that might be the colonizers doing different things. Bible said that all things were to the good of those that love Yah and are the called according to his purpose. So even if they think in the background that they are doing certain things, it's still going to work out to our good. And so I'm believing that we're walking toward our fullness, right? That at the time when a lot of us are dejected and we look out and we see all these things, and even myself can be overwhelmed by some of the things that I see, that I see that the fullness, right? I can see glimpses of fullness of us coming back into who we are is there. We can see it. The word in the Greek fullness has to do with when one is yet like if you're loading a ship, right? It's saying you're loading the ship with cargo, where they get to the point where they say, you know what, there is no more room in the ship. We can't put no more people on the ship. They've been loading. They've been loading for a time, but they get to a point where whether it's people or it's cargo, it they say we can't put no more in this ship. It's full filled filled to capacity, right? We are getting to that point where we're going to be filled to capacity. And so therefore, uh, we don't know when. That's why we have to be patient, right? Because the Most High got more of our people that he has to wake up. But we are getting to that point where we're going to be filled to capacity of who the Most High needs in order for this thing to go forth, right? And then we go on down in the same chapter in Romans 11, and we look at verse 25. He said, "For I would not, brethren, that ye should be ignorant of this mystery, lest ye should be wise in your own conceit, that blindness in part is happened to Israel until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in." One of the reasons why he did that is the Bible said that he had a people yet outside of Israel that he had to bring in. For all of you that believe that he that no Gentiles can get into the kingdom, that is totally false. He said it right here. And look, we know that they took this thing that was uh, from the Most High and they perverted it. But that doesn't mean that over the period of time that they have had it, that none of them have eyes and not been opened up. We can look at the some of the things that happened during slavery, where some of them helped us. Some of the Gentiles helped us. Some of them died. Some of them fought in the Civil War, right? Because they believed that we needed to be free. We understand that Lincoln's intent was not so much to free us, but I'm talking about some of those that fought in those in the Union Army's thoughts was that we got to free some of the people. We think about John Brown. We think about John Wesley, who said that if a man was a slave owner, he could not get into heaven. So there was Gentiles that was fighting for righteousness, fighting for the message of Yeshua, that he came to save the lost, but also that seeing the suffering that our people were going in, and they was not in agreement with it. So there is still yet a time too. While he has not cut off the time of the Gentiles, is because that that fullness of time for them is not yet. But when the fullness of time that he get, and that doesn't mean when I say the fullness of time of the Gentiles that none of them can be saved after that. I don't believe that, but I'm believing that when he get to the capacity of within the Gentile nations of those that would have received the message, then that time of the Gentiles will come to an end. And we already seeing preemptively the fullness of our time is rising back up. They can see that we as black people, as Hebrew people worldwide, are not satisfied with the situation we're in, that things will never ever go back to the way they were. That we will never ever go back to where we're going to be letting this thing such as Rodney King happen on a regular basis without saying something. That's why I have to retract some of the things I'm saying, right, about people getting out there and protesting and going out there and saying no justice, no peace. We understand that some people say that's of the flesh, but again, what that is putting within us is a showing that a dissatisfaction, and you can really almost see that this didn't just happen during my lifetime, but that if you can look, just go back and look at the 50s, where our people was, or even World War I, when some of our people came back from World War I, some of the black men came back from World War I, and that during Red Summer, one of the reasons why so many of our brothers and sisters were killed is because they were fighting. They were fighting back when Tulsa happened. They was just not sitting there letting the Caucasian people come in there and kill them. They was fighting back because they had World War I veterans that had guns. That's why they had to bomb them from the air, because they were saying we're going to fight back. And so you can see that this thing is getting to the point that we're saying no, never again. Now, we're not going back to that, and I believe that's just the fact that the Most High is put within us the need and the desire not to lay back down and to be of this man worship, right? Worshiping the images and worshiping the status symbol of what they tell us to. We are rejecting it, right? And so the fullness of our time is on its way, and the diminishing of their time of once they get there, right, is coming. And you can see that, it took this long. It took this long process, because this is how the Most High works. This is how he works. You think about Paul. You think about when Paul got converted. Paul, uh, for the most part, most of Paul's ministry came later after he had got converted. Yeah, he did do some ministering at the beginning, but there was a time that after Paul had been rejected by the church in Jerusalem, and he couldn't go to certain cities, that he went back to Tarsus, and he sat in Tarsus for 10 years just making tents. And then he was called, then Mosai sent Barnabas up there, right, to get him and to bring him back down to Antioch, right, in Africa, in order for him to fellowship with those people down there. And then when he went on his ministry with Barnabas, they did ministry, but even within the time that Paul was ministering, he spent 5 to 6 years of that time in and out of prison. So a lot of the ministry of Paul was within a short amount of time, in the fullness of time. Think about him having been a very wealthy Pharisee and very knowledgeable Pharisee early in his life, and then on into the time that he got up until the time he got converted. And he probably thought, oh man, this is my heyday. But then when he got born again, he said, I counted all that as dung. It was like I'm starting all over in this period of my life, late in my life. But even with that, the Most High sent me back to Tarsus to sit for 10 years. And then when he did put me in ministry with Barnabas, some of that time that I spent was not preaching and doing what he had called me. It would be in prison, which was what he had called. And that some of the most effective of his ministry was the writing of the letters, because he could not get to certain places. And so we have to look at that and for our own individual life, because I know that there's some of you out there that might be watching this video that were once maybe in the Christian church, and you could see the direction that it was going a long time. You got out of that, and you basically doing home Bible studies. You've been basically getting together with this one or that one for a little while until that group breaks up. And you said, man, how long I'm gonna go through this? Well, I'm believing that we are getting ready to go into that fullness of time, where all of this waiting, all of this time that we have is going to be just like the grapevine, right? That when the grapes get on the vine, you don't immediately start eating them, right? The grapevine, when you see it, right, it's got to get full. It's got to get to that certain texture, right, before you would go and grab those grapes and eat them, or take them and make raisins out of them, or take and make wine out of them. Whatever you would do, you got to wait till a certain time for those grapes to get full, the clusters to get full. And you can even see that in the book of Revelations, where it talks about the cluster of the earth wrath being full, where the angel the angel said, hey, tell the other angel, put in your sickle because it's time to reap. The clusters of the grapes of the earth is ripe for the picking. And this is talking about when Yeshua comes to Armageddon and treadeth out the winepress of his furnace on the grapes of wrath. The wrath of man is not quite yet there where the Most High say, enough is enough. I let them disdain me. I let them plan and plot against me and my people. Now that the fullness of their time has come for their wrath, it is time for them to reap. So I'm telling you that is the same situation that we are getting ready to go in. And if not us, our children, I believe, right? That's why we gotta tell them about this. But like I said, going back to Paul had to wait during that time, but during the end time that he was doing his ministry, he did mighty great things for the Most High in the time when the fullness of time for him to come came, right? He came, and that's why I like that one of the fruit of the spirit is patience, right? Because we have to be patient. Um that's in fact let's go there. Let's go to the book of Galatians. We're gonna go back to the book of Galatians. All right, and it says Galatians 5, and we're gonna start at verse 22. He said, but the fruit of the spirit is love, joy, peace, long suffering, right? Long suffering, gentleness, goodness, meekness, temperance. We want to concentrate on the part of the long suffering and the temperance. He said, long suffering. Our people, we have been long suffering since the Most High put us out of our land. We have gone from place to place. He's allowed that suffering to be upon us. So as we rejected Yeshua and we made him sorrowful as he wept over Jerusalem, so we, the children of those that rejected him, we have been in long suffering. But in long suffering, what does that do? That brings on temperance. Temperance is not, I want to say hardness, but because well, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that we emotionalists or anything, but temperance is like a strength, the inner strength, right? Temperance is like when you see those videos on YouTube where you see these Japanese sword makers making the katana sword and how long it takes them to do it, right? It takes them a very, very long time, right? Or those that's making those knives make that Damascus steel so they can make those Damascus steel. It's a process. It's a long process. But in that process coming out, you will see that sword from Japan, or that sword made with that Damascus method of making steel, makes it super hard, makes it super sharp, makes it super dependable and beautiful instruments to use for cutting or for war. That this is what he has got us to, a temperance through the long suffering that we have got. And so some of you that are sitting and you say, man, I'm doing the home Bible studies, and I'm doing, I'm doing mostly videos and different things, and I wish the Most High would just hurry on up. I'm here to tell you that in the fullness of time, he's going to have you go forth in that which you would do. Because remember, when John the Baptist time came, right? And he was able to baptize the Messiah and the Holy Spirit, and came and lit upon Yeshua. And then not Paul, but John said, he must increase as I decrease. That once that which the Most High has called you to do, don't feel rejected or anything. Once you have completed that which he brought you for to bring forth the overall picture. Don't feel bad if you starting to decrease, because remember what the book of Hosea said. He said he would, when he would pour out his spirit upon the youth and the elders, he said the youth will have the vision, and the elders, we will have the wisdom to try to help the youth to push forth the total of fullness of time to come, that we might not be there, as Joseph said to his brother. He said, I might not be there when you get ready to come out of the land, right? He said, but know of a surety you're going to leave out of this land into the land that the Most High has given you. And that with that, right, don't forget to bring my bones with you and take them back to the land with you. But I might not get with you, but by you bringing out my bones, you will have known that the words that I stated to you came to pass. And so we got to keep pushing ourselves and pushing our youth toward that coming of the fullness of time, not to go back into the way that we were. That's why they're trying to give us alternatives. They're trying to give us this LGBTQ thing and all these things. That's not the fullness of the time of the Most High. What He's trying to bring forth in us, He's trying to bring forth righteousness. He's trying to bring forth a nation of people, right? Whoever we're going to be here when the Messiah comes, right, and is resurrected into their resurrected bodies, that's going to be ruling with Yeshua here on this planet. That's what He is trying to get. Look at Ephesians. Let's look at Ephesians. What is one of the ways we're going to get there? Let's go to Ephesians 1. We're going to go to verse 10. Ephesians 1 and 10 says this, but we said that in the dispensation of the what? Fullness of time, He might gather together in one all things in Messiah, both which are in heaven and which are on earth, even in Him, in whom also we have obtained an inheritance, being predestined according to the purpose of Him who work of all things after the counsel of His own will, that we should be the praise of His glory, who first trusted in Messiah, right? So He's saying in the fullness of time, when Yeshua come back, right? When He come back to this earth, right? When He come back to this earth in the resurrection, and when He set up the kingdom, right? And he gonna bring in Jews, Yahudim, and Gentiles, right? He said, and those coming out of the heaven, right? He's going to bring that in, right, to obtain the inheritance that He has promised us. Whether you live or whether you die, you shall be with Him, right? To the praise of His glory. So Him bringing us out as a people, as a nation, out of this land and bringing us back into our land is going to be not just for us, but it's going to be to His glory, because that people would have saying those people will never get out, right? That the Most High has forsaken them. The Most High is not going to save them. When He saves us, finally, He brings us out, it's going to be to the praise of His glory, that we will have given glory to Him for what He has done, right? And so we encourage one another to persevere in that which you are doing. Keep doing it. I look at my view account, and I say, at one time it was none there at all, and I got 46. So I thank the Most High for the 46 that I got. I thank Him for giving me ability to make this video, that it could be of a somewhat of an encouragement to any of you that might watch it, right? But that when the time comes, I want to be able to tell the Most High, I have done that which you have called me to do, and that's what we have to be. We have to be perseverant perseverant. We got to be faithful in that which he had called us to do when he has called us to do it. Because remember, there were times when Yeshua would go out into the desert and he would just get away from people. He wouldn't be doing no ministry, no nothing. He would just get out there. Sometimes we'd get out there on the ship and just go out there on the Sea of Galilee or some of them places just to get away from the people, right? And so we have to be faithful in that which he has called us to do. Then we go to the book of same book of Ephesians. We're gonna go to chapter 4, and we're gonna go to start at verse 11. And he said he gave some apostles and some prophets and some evangelists and some pastors and teachers for the perfecting of the saints, for the work of the ministry, for the edifying of the body of Messiah. So we all come in the unity of the faith and of the knowledge of the Son of Yah unto a perfect man, unto the measure of the stature of the fullness of Messiah. So he has sent different ones in order to steer us along, to get us into that fullness of the time that we need to be. For Paul, he sent um, um, uh, Ananias, when he told Ananias to go lay hands on him. But then he also he sent others in Paul's life. He sent um, um, Barnabas. He sent him, and he sent him unto Antioch for those to lay hands upon him and Barnabas, and to do what? To push them forth into the ministry. So within our life, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be stuck at one church or one assembly or whatever, and that's where you're going to meet out the rest of your life, because we know Paul was always moving, and the apostles and the followers of the faith, it was moving around right back at that time because of the need, but also of the persecution. What really started messing this thing up is when Catholicism came and said, okay, let's build these big sanctuaries, and now we got to raise up money to operate them, and people got stuck in one little thing, and then that's when the stagnation, and then false doctrine, and all these came in to start stagnating the message. But Yeshua cannot be held down. That's why they will have different revivals with these things. They will go out there and they will have their bush arbors or their different revivals out in the open. And they say, let's cast all this stuff out. But as sure as we still here on this earth, they always will go back. But I'm looking at a time now that we're in, that even with this church thing, is people that say, I'm not ever going back to that. Man, it's got to be something better. Man, it's got to be something higher. And even the people that have not been born again and have made Yeshua their master, even with those that are still in their false religions, even some of them are saying, "Man, I'll forget this mosque thing, man. I'm gonna do away with that mosque, or I'm gonna do away with the Buddhist thing or whatever." That's why you got Zen Buddhism, right? Because but of course we're not encouraging you to go off into any of those. They're just showing you that the discontentment that the Most High is yet putting in within people, and our people specifically, and in people general, of throwing off this thing because they know there's got to be something better. It's not giving them the fullness of what they need. They understand it. We know that at one time, most of the women were populating the black quote unquote church, because the men was not getting what they were needing. So they was coming out of that and saying, man, it's enough of this stuff, right? But now even some of the women in the black Christian church are not getting what they found. The bad part of that is you seeing some of them going into African religions and going into witchcraft, thinking that's going to fulfill them, but that's not what he is calling. Only Yeshua can fulfill that need and the need of what he has for us to do right now. We have to be led by the Holy Spirit. And notice again, he had these different gifts that were going forth of an apostle or a prophet or evangelist or whatever. Not necessarily saying that when you ran it to these people, they would even have any of these titles, but the function of that gift that they had to do those things would have had great effect upon you to get you to where you are at. He's using yet them, whether they know it or not, right? To push you forward into that fullness of what you need to be, and what the final outcome of the fig tree, bringing forth the figs, you know, at the time that when Yeshua come back, that tree is going to be full, and that on that fruit, some of that is going to be us, some of that fruit is going to be the Gentiles that have been grafted in. He said, uh, in verse 14 of this same chapter, Ephesians said that we henceforth be no more children, tossed to and fro and carried away with every wind of doctrine, by the sleight of men and cunning craftiness, whereby they lie and wait to deceive. Right? So he's saying, as we come into the fullness of the time, that we should be ones that have gone through so much that we should not be so easily deceived. We might be able to begin at the beginning. I know when I came into the understanding of this thing of us being a people, it was some things that you know, I grabbed hold to. But as I started studying them and understanding them, I was like, nah, I don't believe that. And I just put that aside. Just like when I first got, you know, saved at a young age, there were certain things that I believe that now, you know, Most High give me understanding through the fullness of time that I have come. And so I want to encourage each one of you out there to continue on. Don't think it is over. Remember the story that Yeshua taught about the workers in the vineyard. And he said at the very beginning of the morning, he called these people and said, "Hey, you want to work in my vineyard?" Right? He said, how much will I pay you? They said a penny. He said, for a penny for a whole day. And he said throughout the day, he seen how I need to hire some more workers, and it was close to a couple of hours before time was supposed to get off. And he hired he said, "Hey, you want to come work?" He said, "How much for?" He said, "For a penny." And he said, the ones that had been working all day said, "Hey, why are you giving them a penny and they only worked a few hours, right? We've been here in the heat of the day, right, doing all these different things, right?" He said, "Why at the time that you was in agreement with me at that morning, was not the wage still good? So why are you concerned about what my own money that I'm gonna give to those that might only work a few hours?" The thing is to get the harvest in, to bring in the fullness of the harvest, that all the grapes must be gathered, right? And so this is what we are seeing now, that there was a time that the Christian church did it what it needed to do for us, but that time is gone, right? And then other things start popping up, right? And if master delay is coming, and this thing of the awakening, right? I don't think it's gonna die down, because it's not a movement, it's awakening of the mind and of the spirit, right? To the need of our people to prepare for the Messiah, right? But if we die and it goes on, and then another thing comes up, and then people, grab hold of that, and then Messiah come, then would you get up out of your grave and say, "Hey, why are they being a focal point? It was us that went through this and us that went through that." No, it all comes together to get the end product. The end product is what's important. The fullness of our people. That's what is most important, right? So again, I'm here to encourage you. We're living in the best of times as believers. Bible said that when you see all these different signs and stuff happening, he said, look up because your redemption is near. When you first believe, what we can do is thank the Most High that he allowed us to see those things that our forefathers, our grandparents, and all those desired to see, but their eyes didn't see. Their eyes desired to see us to be in, have nice, vehicles and homes and different things, and not to have an outhouse in South Carolina with the little moon on it or whatever, going out there in the cold, out there in the tobacco fields and all that time. They mind was to get away from that. So we are living out their prayers and their desires that they had, right? So we got to thank the Most High for that. So with that, I want to say to you the most important thing, in order for us near these times that we're living, is to know that we're born again, that we're saved, that we can join in the fullness of the time if we're here alive when Yeshua comes back, or when he starts bringing us up out of the different lands that he scattered and dispersed us to. The most important thing is that you know him in the pardon of your sins. So you gotta repent. You gotta ask him to cleanse your sins, so that during the times of refreshing, right? And he does all these things to refresh the earth. You'll be able to enjoy the bountiful blessings of it. You think about, and we get ready to end. You think about when the 12 spies went into the land, and they spied out the land, and they brought back, they said, grapes that were so big that it took two men to put it on a pole to carry it, right? Some of those people, they looked at the giants and they said, well, the food and stuff is excellent, but those giants. And what did the Bible say? Y'all got mad. He said, you know what? Y'all not going to go in and enjoy that land, but those children, your children that you said would be perish and would be ate up by the inhabitants of the land. He said, they going to go in and enjoy what you could have enjoyed, but you're going to die off. So let's make it into that land, right? That's not go the way of the world. Let's not go the way of all the stuff that we're seeing going on. But let's commit our lives to the one that is up in heaven making intercession for us, right? And with that, I'm going to ask you to uh, give this video a thumbs up. I'm going to ask you to leave a comment. I'm going to ask you to subscribe. Be blessed.